$179. It's strange how childhood memories seem to stick with us. One of my fondest ones was when my dad took me dove hunting with him. Now, it didn't happen very often, and it's probably because I was more interested at throwing rocks than I was his hunting success, but on occasion he would take me along. And the thing that really fascinated me about these trips was he didn't use the typical shotgun that you'd see. He used a pistol shotgun to shoot the doves. This gun was pretty special. It was passed down through several generations of my family, and I was told one day it would also be passed down to me. Well, when I was 6 years old, things changed for me. My dad decided to leave, and along with him went that pistol shotgun in any hopes of ever having that family heirloom to pass down to my children. Well, I'm an old man now, and with children of my own, I haven't really thought about that in many years, but then something changed. I was watching some videos on YouTube, and this gun showed up. The Rossi Brawler, a single shot, 410, 45 long Colt handgun. Suddenly, I was just transported back in time with memories of my dad shooting those doves with that pistol shotgun, which looked very similar to this. Hi, Steve here again, and welcome back to Big Bore Guns. Today we'll be taking a look at this Rossi Brawler. Now, it is a 45 long Colt 410 handgun, single shot, single action. When you're thinking of high-quality firearms, Rossi is not something that usually comes to mind. It was kind of hit or miss, and they had quite a few reliability issues early on. And if you decided to buy one, you just hoped you got one of the good ones that didn't have the reliability issues other users had experienced. Recently, however, that reputation has changed, and they've done a much better job of building quality firearms. Most of the online reviews you see nowadays for Rossi, also Taurus, which is out of the same company, are very positive, and they're often praised for being able to offer an affordable handgun for someone to purchase. Over this past year, I've been pleasantly surprised by the ones I purchased myself. One of them was a stainless steel 454 concealed lever action rifle, which I really love. And then there's this Rossi Brawler, and this one probably impressed me the most. When you first take a look at this hand cannon, well, it does look rather big. It has a long 9-inch barrel, and that sits out pretty far from these grips, giving it a very large appearance. However, when you pick it up, that changes as you realize this only weighs about 36 ounces, and that's with this red dot sight I've installed. That is pretty light. You can attribute that light weight to the mostly polymer frame. However, with the steel barrel and internal components, it does still have a very solid feel. The fit and finish on this gun is really nice. I'm not a big fan of blued guns, however with this one, against this polymer frame, it looks great. And the bluing is super smooth. I don't see any rough spots. All the trim looks good. And I'm very impressed by the fit, how all the components go together. There's no shelves. It fits together very, very tightly. With a nice fit and finish, with all these parts fitting seamlessly together, if you haven't figured it out, I'm very impressed with this Rossi Brawler. One thing I did appreciate is everything is very tight. Where the barrel comes up against the frame here, I don't see any gap at all. And that was pretty evident in the ballistics. For pistol cartridge ballistics, I saw the results from this firearm were higher than listed on the boxes. The stock sights are really nothing to write home about. It has a tall front black blade here, and then there's a notch sight in the rear of the Picatinny rail. Now that didn't bother me or dissuade me much because I like options when I purchase a gun, and typically I'll use a red dot sight. I also have the ability to install a scope on here, which could be very good in some situations. If looking at the gun doesn't encourage you to purchase it, perhaps the price will. This gun comes in at just a little over $200, and that's brand new. After I shot the gun a few times, I knew I'd gotten a great bargain. Shooting the gun is a pleasure, and the grips and the way it's designed make it a lot of fun to shoot. Now, as far as recoil goes, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know I'm a big fan of recoil. However, this gun doesn't have much recoil. I realize, however, most people will really appreciate it. They're probably not into recoil the way I am. The Brawler is chambered for 45 long Colt rounds, and it does very well with those. I had no problem at all getting nice tight groups. It's also chambered to handle 410 rounds, both 2.5 and 3 inches like this one. The 410 rounds I used were specifically designed for handguns, and they didn't disappoint at all either. They performed excellent. I was able to maintain tight groups using these handgun specific rounds. I was at an indoor range, so I really wasn't able to test birdshot, so I'm not sure how well that would have performed. However, I would guess with a rifled barrel, it probably wouldn't do very well as compared to specifically designed handgun rounds. If you decide to purchase the Rossi Brawler, up front you won't win any reloading competitions. It does take a few seconds to open it up, put in a cartridge, close it back up, and fire again. However, I found that added time forces me to take more times with my shots. It also helps me because I'm not worried about the next round in the chamber that I'm going to fire. I'm consistently focused on just this one cartridge. You will find that it is a lot of fun to shoot. With all that said, let's take a look at the ballistics now as I take my first shots with the Rossi Brawler. The first shots I took were these Range Dynamics 45 long Colt. These bullets are 255 grains and rated at 750 feet per second. As you can see from the chronograph, our average with these rounds is about 828 feet per second, which works out to be about 364 foot-pounds of energy. That's not too bad out of this little standard 45 Colt round. The next rounds I used were these Hornady Lever Revolution ammo. Now this is the FTX, it's the one with this little orange tip on it. They performed really well. Now they are 225 grains and they're rated at 950 feet per second. We can see from the chronograph, these bullets came in at about 914 feet per second. That's about 417 foot-pounds of energy. Not too bad from this little round out of a handgun. Now it is slightly lower than rated on the box, but that was probably shot out of a lever-action rifle, so there's not much drop, even coming out of this 9-inch barrel. The last rounds I fired were these. These are Federal 410 handgun rounds. Now these are triple-aught buckshot. There's 5 pellets in each one, and they're specifically designed for short barrel guns. Nice. 879. Now these did really well. The target I was shooting was probably out at about 7 yards, and I was shooting groups of 4 to 6 inches. They were really tight with each shot. I was impressed by them. I think you could even go a little bit further with these and not have any issue at all. So this time out, that was the only cartridges I had available that I could use at indoor range. There are some standard pressure loads that perform much better. If you'll take a look at Buffalo Bore, they do make a standard pressure round that they rate at 1,055 feet per second, which is over about 555 foot-pounds of energy. I believe those would do really good in this 9-inch barrel. So some final thoughts. Is this just a novelty or something that has some practical applications? For me, I do like hunting with a handgun. So for me, it's a very practical firearm. First, there's some situations I think it would work very well in. The first being if you just want something that you enjoy shooting. Plinking, using some different cartridges like 45 long Colt, and being able to also shoot some 410 cartridges, that makes it a very diverse handgun. One of the things I would consider this for is if I was out hiking in an area where there's snakes. Now recently I've had 3 different friends that have been bitten by rattlesnakes, so having something like this along when you're out on a hike, it would give you a good option. Having the ability to use 410 shotgun shells with a nice tight pattern at close ranges, well, that's going to up your chances of actually hitting your target. I think being able to shoot 410s on this, make it a good choice for small game hunting if you want something that's a little challenging. Now we're talking about close ranges, but for rabbits or squirrels or something like that, it would work really good in that situation. I even think this could be an effective round for large game, like small white-tailed deer at the right range, maybe 25 to 50 yards, with a nice 45 long Colt round would work really well. I also think here in Arizona we can shoot javelina. It'd be a fitted cartridge for that. It would work good. Again, the key is just having the right round, being close enough to the target, and making a good clean shot. So what are your thoughts about the Rossi Brawler? Is it just a novelty, or is it something you might actually consider going out and purchasing? Also, what situations do you think it might work well in? If you'd leave your comments down below, I'd really appreciate it. If you have any questions, also feel free to leave those, and I would really appreciate it if you'd like or subscribe to my channel. Again, I hope you have a great week, and thank you for watching this video.